So Ellie and I met through breast cancer cure.
Yes,
which is super cool, and I liked you straight away. So that's that's really nice.
Like 6 months, I guess, I created a course for artists and creatives to help them be better at business, essentially giving them the full map that I have walked, stumbled through myself, to get them to quit their job, if that's what they want. I think more and more, like, the people you learn off of that are so diverse and different in different places, stages, workplaces, if you meet people at different, in different spaces, then you have more opportunity. I would argue, maybe that's a bad thing to say, I think you are presented with more opportunities. You feel like you can also have more connections to get into different places and spaces.
Kia ora, welcome, I'm Zoe. I'm so excited to have you join me on this podcast that celebrates and supports women from all walks of life. Whether we're chatting with inspiring wahine, sharing real stories, or diving into the things that truly matter to us, we've got it all covered. It's time to shine a light on the incredible women doing amazing things right here in Aotearoa and beyond. So hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and come join the kōrero. We can't wait to have you join us. Kia ora everyone, welcome back to Golden Glimmers. Today I am joined by Ellie Compton, who is an artist, but has also done quite a few different things and is constantly juggling lots of things at the same time. So welcome, Ellie.
Hi, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Before we get started, let's just warm up with a few little questions, easy questions.
Okay.
What's your favourite drink?
Oh, non-alcoholic or alcoholic?
Either, both.
I love a red wine.
Yeah, nice.
Like a deep Shiraz.
Yeah,
It's my
cool.
favourite. Yeah.
Star sign?
Leo.
Oh, okay. Do you think that you align with those like you know?
I don't know. I don't really follow star signs, but I would say the like boldness of just crazy delusion and going after what you want, maybe.
Yeah.
But
nice.
again, don't quote me on that. I don't know star signs very well.
No, that's okay. And then the next one is if you had to choose between like going for a river or ocean dip, a spa pool and a cold plunge, what would you choose?
Spa.
Oh, yeah, like a relaxing.
Yeah, I'm not a water baby. I can swim, but it verges on drowning sometimes.
Yeah. I can swim, but I don't necessarily love being smashed by the waves and Taylor's mistake.
Yeah, would prefer just to be in a hot pool. I think that sounds good.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, same. I feel really comfortable being in like water that's like this deep and stuff. And I grew up like in a river, but I would always kind of like stick around the same area and stuff. But it freaks me out because we go up to my family farm and there's like a river on the property, and our youngest one, like, he's almost too confident, and I'm like, nah, but there's like a really bad rip, and you know, it can go a little bit gnarly, so it freaks me out a little bit. And one time he nearly drowned me on accident. He just like freaked out, jumped on my back, and was kind of like, I'm like, and then Maru and our oldest boy Ollie like literally had to like come save me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spa pool it is then.
Yeah, low-key traumatized. Water's never been the same since. Anyway, to you, let's talk about your upbringing. We'll work through kind of your whole journey, both personally and professionally. But yeah, let's start with how it all began.
Yeah, gosh. I am born and bred from Blenheim, actually, Marlborough.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, but kind of moved around a bit as a kid. My parents, for different job reasons, my dad changed careers kind of in the middle of while we were growing up, so we did a bit of moving around and then ended up in Christchurch around high school time. So
what was his career change?
Builder, a musician to builder to sound technician.
Yeah,
so,
interesting.
Yeah,
so he's obviously from the arts world.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, moved around heaps, which didn't love at the time. As a kid, it's a bit like, my friends are here and blah, blah, blah. But actually, like, upon reflection as an adult, I'm like, man, it prepared me for just being able to be thrown into different situations and being more adaptable. I can talk to anybody and feel quite comfortable in that zone. So I think it helped me relate to a lot of different people on a different in a different way that I probably wouldn't have learned if I wasn't chucked in the fire, which I feel like is my life. Just being chucked in the fire and then you learn as you go.
You're a
and
Leo.
It's fine.
You belong in the flames around you.
It's fine. Yeah.
I didn't totally relate to that whole moving thing. I think that like growing up, I moved around and moved schools a few times. And I think that at primary school, I found it quite hard because they'd say like, go to a friend's birthday party and they would have the same kids at their birthday from when they were like, you know, maybe even preschool to like through to intermediate, right? Whereas I was always a person where like I would have 2 friends from here, 1 friend from here, you know, and that kind of thing. But they didn't know each other. And then I'd get a little bit overwhelmed if mum's like, do you want a birthday party? Because I'm like, no, I don't know, you know, kind of thought I was a little bit broken. But I think that like the more people that I talk to that have moved around or moved schools a little bit, it's actually quite relatable, and that's a real world as well, right? Like
Definitely.
you might have this like little posse of friends that maybe you went to school with, and a lot of people that never moved out of their hometown, they still roll tight with that same group of people. But like I think in the real world, like, you know, you make a good work friend here, and then, you know, you might have someone that you play sports with there and that kind of thing. Like that's just reality, eh?
Absolutely. And I think like, I'm sure we'll get into it later, but I think more and more like the people you learn off of that are so diverse and different in different places, stages, workplaces. If you meet people at different in different spaces, then you have more opportunity. I would argue, maybe that's a bad thing to say. I think you are presented with more opportunities. You feel like you can also have more connections to get into different places and spaces that you otherwise wouldn't. So I don't know, I sometimes, try and see it as a positive as well. And I think in my business life, I'm like, I've got so many different, like you say, different groups of friends, which is such a blessing. But I'm like also how wonderful that I can also use those people in different ways for business as well, and connect different people. And someone will be like, oh, can you help me with a designer or a graphic designer? I'm like, yes, I know someone hiring right now. And it works both ways.
Yeah, that network, eh?
Yeah,
that's funny. And I think if you have been part of the like corporate kind of world before, there's a lot of people that freak out with change. Whereas people like us are a lot more adaptable because change is kind of like out normal, and it's almost a little bit boring after a while where you're like, when's there going to be a bit of a shake-up? Like,
well, it is funny you say that. I don't love change, but I think that I can deal with it.
Or like when you're in control of the change.
Totally. No, I know what you
and
mean.
to be fair, that's probably the same. Like I'm
not
HR.
like, come at me, but I'm
I think I'm in HR, so like there's a part of me where I would say that the next step in my career would probably be to take one of those roles as like a change manager, because I think if I feel like I'm in on it and can help with the planning, but I can also like help with the communication for the people that are a little bit more resistant to change, I just feel like that could kind of
be the connector.
But like, I mean, who grows up when they're little and says, when I grow up, I want to be a change manager? Like,
No,
what is
not
that?
often.
What even is that? What does that mean? Our kids wouldn't even, like, they don't even really understand what Madu and I do for a day job now, yet alone then. Okay, so what were you into when you were a kid? What'd you do?
I've always been really into sport. That's not really a career that I'm doing, but that's a huge part of my life.
Like what sport?
Basketball's my main sport, but I was always a runner, and I love touch rugby and just watching any sport.
Long distance running or like sprinting?
Sprinting.
Oh my God, that's
hurdles,
my nightmare.
sprinting, those kind of things. But
do you know what's you're like an athletics girl.
Yeah, I used to love athletics.
Oh, that's
all of that.
So hardcore. That's like for the really sporty people. Do you know what? I've always loved long distance running because I feel like then I can be in my own space and go at my own pace and all that sort of thing. But I hated sprints because I'm quite sensitive to sound. So like I would literally like hold my ears before the gun, and then I'd be like a little bit like,
That's
by
not
the
good
gun.
when you're trying to start at the right time.
She's not winning 100 meters, but like a 10K run, I'm good. Not coming first, but I'll be there.
So I was into sport, and then I also, it's kind of weird, but from a really young age, I wanted to be an architect. So I also had this like artistic, creative side that I really enjoyed. Drew a lot of pictures, kids do that though, a lot of art involved. But from like age 9, I was like, I want to be an architect, which is kind of weird because you're a young kid and architects don't really seem that interesting. But I would draw house plans in my maths book at that age. They were terrible, but
Yeah.
just got excited by that kind of thing. So so from that age, that's kind of what I decided I wanted to be, and I went on to study that and do architecture and work in architecture, and yeah.
I'll just pause you for a little second.
Yeah.
So we have a 15-year-old and she's like that, and she always has been. So always drawn house plans, you know, on Roblox you could, she was always that kid that would like spend so much time like designing her house, and she'd be like, Dad, Zoe, like, look, and she'd be like, it's got a pool and blah, blah, blah. Like, she would spend so much time, and she'd be like, oh, here's the kitchen. And she, like, we would spend a lot of time being like, nice perks, you know, that kind of thing. And so for a while, she was talking about maybe going down the pathway of nursing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also a sweet career. But I was like, love, you're a creative. You're a creative through and through. She loved glitter. She loved the, like, scissors. Like, you know, we have, like, this box of arts and crafts stuff, and she was, like, amongst it. She's the kid that can, like, whip up the best birthday cards and that sort of thing. She's like, in my eyes, bear in mind that I'm like an HR and like being a careers advisor and that sort of thing, it's so clear to me that although she might have an interest in caring for people and that sort of thing, I'm like, I think this is what's going to bring you joy, and I think that this is who you are at the core. And I'm also like, can you just like hold on to your want to like care for people until your dad and I are old and you can take care of us? Like, plus you're gonna have some kids as well. So like reserve that energy and let's get you down that field.
I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't use both at the same time. You know, to actually run a good business or be a great person to work with, you have to care for other people and care for your clients, and you know, so it could also come in different ways. Or she could do a hospital design, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it is really interesting. We're just trying to give her options as well. So rather than like hone in too hard, like I've always been quite, I'd say like vocal or proactive around that subject choice. You know how like we're at high school, you really just want to do like the easiest subjects that you can and hang out with your friends and that sort of thing. And it's super easy to do that. And I think that almost I worked as a careers advisor at Logan Park High School in Dunedin and stuff. So it was always really clear to me of like, totally get it. You want to like just hang out with your mates and that sort of thing. And I actually don't care what you do when you're older, but I want you to have all of the options in the world. I don't want you to like kind of do the bare minimum and then be stuck with not many choices. So yeah, interesting. How do you think your journey through school was?
Interesting. I don't really reflect on that often. I loved high school. I think I had an awesome group of friends in that respect. But in terms of like academically, I was like a good student. I wouldn't say I was like amazing. Arts, I was definitely like excellence in. But because I was so tunnel vision on architecture, to do first year architecture, it suggests and it strongly recommends you do like calculus, statistics, science, so like physics. Not my strong point at all. And so because I was so tunnel vision, I was like, okay, I have to do these things. And that meant that unfortunately it brought down like all my grades because those I just wasn't naturally good at. Ticked that box and barely passed those in high school. But
where did you study when you left high school? Was it Wellington?
Yeah, Victoria University. Anyway, so I had to do those. I just reflect on that and wish I'd actually just done arts mostly and really just excelled at that. And it wouldn't have actually mattered. Like when you get to uni, it doesn't actually matter. They don't really care. You still have to do maths and stuff in uni. So anyway.
But the school does definitely give that kind of advice. And I genuinely think that their heart is like in the right place where they're just trying to feed you the right information or whatever. But oh my goodness, I can't think of anything worse than doing all of those subjects.
And I hated those subjects as well. But I was like a hard worker, so it was one of those ones where I put in the work, but those ones in particular, my calculus was not very strong. But that's okay. We're not even using calculus now. So.
So did you go straight from high school to uni? No gap year or anything?
Nah.
Just straight in there?
I was so, like, even at year 10, I was like, I just want to be in uni. Like, because I knew so much what I wanted to do. Which is awesome, and a lot of people don't feel that way. So I felt very lucky that I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I was just itching to get to uni, and I had managed to convince two of my friends from Christchurch to come actually 3 of my friends to come to Wellington, and they all studied at Massey University and did design.
Were you in a hall at uni?
I was, not with them because we're at separate universities, but yeah, I was in a hall.
Yeah, cool.
Terrible year.
Oh, tell us about it.
Oh,
Was
no, not much to tell other than I think halls you can have an amazing experience, and sometimes you can have a really average one. And I think I was just on a floor where no one really wanted to socialise, and I was homesick and just missing home, and and I was, I come from a family where like we didn't have enough money to like cover anything for uni, like never went without, but middle class, and so I was working 2 jobs to try and help myself as well while at uni and studying the hall. So it also limited my time on who I could hang out with.
Yeah.
Although I worked at Lone Star for like 8 years, and they were like my family. So like you do meet amazing people through different ways.
Yeah.
So that was really special.
That's so interesting. I had such a good experience going into a hall in Dunedin, and so I'm a little bit like, with our oldest boy, he's about to come back from Canada, and I'm like, but I'm like, just go down to Dunedin. Like, I'm like, no one even cares if you drop out after your second year, like, just go. And I was like, it's kind of like your parents are super proud of you because you've made it to uni and that sort of thing, but also, like, I think it's a really good middle step in terms of if you don't have to like cook for yourself and you don't have to pay the power and that sort of thing. I think it's really good, but
and that was the thing, my parents just wanted me to have a roof over my head. So they were like, at least we know the halls are paid for. Like you can just, you can eat, you have a roof over your head. Like that's all they kind of were like, especially because sending your 18-year-old off is like pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that hustle that you're talking about, you working during that phase as well, because I was the same. Like my parents didn't have like a ton of cash to be like, go down to Dunedin. So in year 13, I was pretty much working full-time in retail and then like going to class kind of the bare minimum to get through and that sort of thing. But a lot of students and around me, they didn't have to work. Like, so their parents were like paying for them to be in a hall, which is super cool. But also, like, even some of my friends would like get the student allowance, and then their parents would give them a little bit of cash as well and stuff. And I'm like, I can't really relate.
I remember one time I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I've got $2 left for a chocolate bar this week. And he's like, that is awesome.
Yeah.
You enjoy that chocolate. It's like, your
heart out, girl.
Yeah, totally. It was little things. And I think, but I don't know about you. I look at working as such an asset. Like I worked from age 15 at like the Science Alive here. I don't know if you remember Science Alive.
I was terrified of that big stuff.
Yeah, I was probably putting you down it. But working from a young age was so awesome, not only just for like me learning social skills and working skills, interpersonal stuff that I think has helped me later on in life, but it filled my CV up. It helped me, like at uni especially, I knew that I could separate my uni thoughts at night. Like I'd go and I'd waitress, and you have to switch off because you're in a completely different environment. And architecture is very intense. And so my friends that were in architecture school with me, who were just full architecture, didn't do any job, they may have had more time up their sleeve, but because they didn't have that time to disengage, they were just like max stressed out.
Yeah, fully consumed by their study.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think, I saw it as a huge positive of like, I not only got to like meet some really amazing people that worked in the hospitality industry, my brain had a break, which was so necessary. And I don't think people realize that.
You kind of have to like separate them, eh?
Yeah.
Talking about Lone Star, what's your favourite Lone Star meal?
Used to love the Johnny Cash Dash, but when I was a poor student, I would just get a loaf of the garlic bread and ask for some free dip. I would just eat that.
Nice. That's when you know you're a proper student, hey? I agree. I remember like we literally had $25 per person to spend on groceries, and I was gluten-free at the time. So there's like $8 to $10 of your gluten-free loaf of bread that's like gone across. But also that $25 was like based on the fact that we could still buy like a couple of bottles of Scrumpy. You know, like we probably could have had $45, but we definitely got amongst the like cheap bottles of alcohol.
That's the priorities.
Yeah. and
sure.
like students are doing it a little bit differently these days. Eh? Like we had this rule that the first person to turn on the heat pump for the year had to buy a keg. None of us had any money, so we're like, don't turn it on.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, we were like proper broke students.
No, I remember that time when you'd get that random flatmate move in and they'd have a heater in their room and everyone would just turn
hate on them.
And it's like that's all you had to do to get some hate is just turn your heater on.
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, so that was your first year of uni.
Yeah.
Was the next couple of years all right?
Yeah, no, I actually loved uni. Like it was the most stressful time of my life, but it was like amazing.
Yeah.
So with architecture, you do 3 years for the degree, and then you have to become an architect officially. You have to do 5 years, which is your master's. And then once you finish your master's, you then have to work for a certain amount of time and get up like a series of projects at a certain level of complexity, and then you have to go and do your registration, and then you're an architect.
Yeah, right.
So
that's such a long
it's a long process,
right?
but at the same time, you want the people building your buildings to actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of like a doctor. Like it's a long path and a big student loan, but also like
So I didn't quite get to the registration part because I worked 5 years in architecture. I didn't have any like hate towards or anything. I just got to the point where I was like, I have to choose my art career or I have to choose architecture because they were both too full and I couldn't do them both. So
when you were working in that 5 years, where was that? Was that still up in Wellington? Yeah, okay.
So I moved to Christchurch, back to Christchurch just about 2020. So that was just the day before the big lockdowns all happened. Yeah.
That's, I don't know, 2020. In my brain, I'm like, that's so recent, but it's actually 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay. And what was happening in the art space? Like when you were kind of talking about the two of them, like what kind of mahi were you doing within art? Like,
That's a great question. So my art kind of stemmed quite organically. Like it was essentially my very first experience with the potential of having an art career was I had some drawings that I'd done in my master's year at uni and I submitted it into a drawing competition and it went well. Like I didn't win, but a very famous art collector in New Zealand bought it on the opening night and I was like, what? Who is this? I didn't even know what a red sticker meant. Like I was that fresh that I had no idea.
How did that make you feel?
I think I was just like, what is going on? And I'd invited my friend to the opening night and we ate way too many canapes and drank all of this rich wine and we felt so sick the next day. But it was just one of those funny occasions.
We go to art events now,
Yes. She was stoked to be a friend in the arts. It was great.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the start. I was like, oh, what's going on? And then from there, it was very slow, a series of few moments of certain people seeing different artworks around and wanting some for them. I also started to be like, oh, actually, okay, friends and family, can you, like, who wants one? And then when someone would buy one at a very cheap price, it was very cheap, I would ask them obviously to share it and post it and things like that.
So when did you kind of start like a bit of a socials page and like kind of take it from being something that you did in your spare time or whatever to being like, oh, is this a business?
I would say probably 3 years after uni finished. Yeah. So I'd been working, because I never thought I would do art as a full-time career. I always thought I'd be an architect forever. Yeah. And that art was just on the side, probably partially because I didn't believe you could make good money from art. Yeah. I also probably just didn't believe my stuff was that great, or that anyone would buy it enough.
So that kind of you having that person buy your artwork, that was almost like a little golden glimmer, right? Like a little moment of like, oh, actually this could be something, and just give you enough kind of hope and also like a little bit of like street cred or whatever it is to be like, is this a real thing?
Well, just I think have someone that's experienced in that world see something in you that you don't see. Yeah. It makes you kind of step back out of yourself a little bit and look at it a bit more objectively, or like just light that flame a little bit of, and I'm a very determined person. So if I get something in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to give this a go. Like I'm a very yes person. I'll just go after it. So I think it was one of those like, oh, okay, let's just give this a go. Like,
Yeah.
why not? Not expecting it would go anywhere or even thinking it would. But when I do something, I do it 100%. So, you know, I mean, and that comes with time and energy and all of that sacrifice, but it was fun.
Yeah,
so.
Cool. Okay. And then how did it feel going into the socials world? If you never like grew up and was like, I want to be an influencer and, you know, that kind of thing. How did it feel starting up a page and like, you know, you start with like 10 followers and they're your family members or
Pretty
like
much.
that girl at high school that would sit nice like next to you that was super nice to you or that kind of thing. So how did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't ever practiced in it. I was just, it was very much more of a documentation. Like, this is like, you know, it's 7 days. I'm Ellie and this is my picture. Like, that was kind of the vibe. And, you know, obviously, like, no, Instagram wasn't really videos at that stage. So it was all like images, which is fine. I didn't have a website. I had, I think maybe 4 years after uni, I was like, oh, get a business card because I had to. But even like the first artwork someone bought, I didn't bubble wrap it or anything. I just kind of handed it to them. I just had no clue. And there's so many, and people were really gracious. Like that particular person that bought that said, hey, just to give you some feedback, maybe you should get a business card. Maybe you should use some bubble wrap. Maybe you could package it a little bit nicely or something like that.
I hear you. When we first launched Gold Walk, like Madu and I had this whole debate because I was like, oh, everyone's like doing this like custom made like tissue paper and that sort of thing. He's like, nah, you don't need that. And I was like, oh, how about these like custom bags? And he's like, Zoe, like make some money first and then we'll reinvest in that sort of thing. But yeah, totally. I think our first drop was like some t-shirts and they literally came and there was like, I got like, I think 100 pack of those brown like supermarket bags that don't have countdown written on it. But it was like humble beginnings.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing, like we all start somewhere. And the socials, like that has been a huge game changer for my business. I just see it as like, it's free marketing. I spend a lot of time on it, on like editing videos and trying to really make that a big part of my business. And it's a hard one because a lot of people would argue, you know, 24 hours is kind of the max life of a post potentially or a story or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, but what if that person that sees that is your next $10,000 job or, you know.
100%.
So it's just looking at how... I think it's trying to look at the big picture of like, yes, this is going to take me an hour to do this post and that's frustrating and I'm not here to create content. Like it's not my favorite thing to do, but I'm trying to find joy in it. So I've started to really enjoy editing.
It's so funny the way when you're like growing up and you think you're going to be an architect or an artist. You didn't plan on being like a social media person.
No.
I feel that to my bones. Like that was never my path and I was actually the shyest kid like in the world. But also I was like, I can't afford for other people to like do this for me. So like I've got no choice. You just need to get amongst it. Also it's super weird with socials, because it's like the post that you put 3 hours into and you plan and like take all of the footage and that sort of thing, it flops. And then like I have this video at the moment and it's like kind of popping off and it's something that I posted and it was probably a little bit too like vulnerable and sensitive for my liking. And it's like at 100K views and every time that I check my notifications, it's like a couple of likes on that one and I'm like, what the hell? Like I literally like posted it and was like, actually, maybe I'm going to delete that, you know? But that's so funny.
And it's so hard to read. And so that's the double-edged sword. It's like, it's both equally like the most frustrating thing I think in my job. But also the way I've got the most work. And I actually like make sure I write that all out of the analytics of who my clients come, like where my clients come from. And the majority have been social media and then word of mouth and then someone else follows you and it blah, 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 blah.
Are you on all the platforms?
I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and now I'm doing a lot of work on LinkedIn to try and get out on there. I'd love to do long form content on YouTube, but I just don't have the time. So my goal this year, I would love to hire a social media person, superstar, someone that can take that off my plate. But relinquishing control is also really hard.
And really hard because at the end of the day, you're the creative person. Hey, so I thought about that quite a lot where I'm like, oh, I'd love someone to take care of my like socials and stuff. But then I'm also like, but by the time that I like, because I just make up
Yeah.
on the day.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write about this, or it's gonna be about this. Like I don't plan my socials at all. And sometimes I schedule a post where I'm like, oh yeah, I know that this is a peak time, so I'll do it at then or whatever. But like, I'm not doing those like long plans and stuff because I'm probably a little bit feral and probably need a little bit more structure. But yeah, I think that my best content is the stuff that's like really organic and just like an idea on the fly. When you started doing the socials, what was the response from like your people? Were they like, what are you
like
doing?
my friends and family?
Yeah.
I think at first it was everyone's throughout the whole thing is really encouraging for the most part. I don't think there's ever been we are all the ones that feel cringe about it in front of those people, and I've tried to frame it as this is my job, so trying to kind of take my emotion and personality out of it, like this is just the persona of my business or someone that works for my business, so that I don't necessarily feel as cringe. But you won't find me dancing on there's no disrespect to anyone that wants to dance. I love a boogie, but like you won't find me doing that on
doing
my Instagram.
that one,
Just none of it, and that's something that I probably draw a line at. But
same, I can't dance, so I've got no talent in that
just
space.
on screen. But like I work in a shared studio space, which is so wonderful. We're all really creative. And I do often get teased of like, oh, Ellie's doing her little videos again.
Yeah.
And it's all in jest and laugh because I am doing it a lot.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
Tease away.
I think that like when I first started doing that, I think that people were like, what is she up to? And like, she's not a social media person and she's not an influencer and all of that kind of thing. But I think now it's been such a long time that people just kind of know that it's like part of my life and world, and it kind of makes sense now. But I think, like at the early stages, it does feel a little bit weird.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. This isn't to sound like in any way cocky, but more and more I'm like, if someone is, there's probably like been one or two that were like, oh gosh, I see your face a lot now. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. But I actually am doing really well. So in that space. So it's kind of also just framing it as that person's not going to buy from me. So I'm not there to impress them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
totally.
It doesn't matter. So,
I hear you. I made a post last night and it just came to my head, but I was like, following someone you don't like is weird energy. Like,
yes,
what are you doing? Like, you
totally
pick your
agree.
algorithm. If you don't like me, don't follow me. I don't care. I'd actually prefer people that didn't like me to not follow me, because that's weird. Like, why? And I know that, like, I actually was around a group of girls once, and they were like talking about how they love to like follow this one girl because she's super cringe, and they were kind of like sharing about what she was like doing and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's real sad, you know? Like, I didn't think that was funny.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that person is just like going after what they want, which is admirable versus like.
Yeah, that's mean vibes, eh?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, cool. So what was kind of happening after that?
So after, the initial kind of stages of putting myself out there, I was growing my social media following. I had entered a couple of competitions, one in particular, which was just the coolest thing I think I've done, which was working with QT Hotel. Yeah. And they had this competition, if people don't know, which is they were redoing a whole floor of their hotel. It's a 5-star hotel in Wellington, and they got 25 artists. They selected them out of, I think there was 270 applications or something. There's 25 artists to take over a room each, and we each got to do whatever we wanted within reason in that room. And it was the coolest thing because over 2 weeks, we were all as artists working alongside each other, like creating these amazing rooms, and then obviously got to stay in them. And there was this huge opening night, and it was a really, really cool experience. So it was very much starting off my art career of just throwing myself into all these situations and being like, I'm here to learn, I'm here to experience cool stuff, and also believing that I can do it. I think that's the difference, is a lot of people don't try on things because they don't think they're going to get anywhere, or they're going to get that job, or that person's going to say yes. And
fear of rejection.
Which I totally fear rejection, of course, as well. But I think if you don't ask, you're never going to get.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is like not use in a bad way, but people love to help other people. So if you've got friends that work for people that you want to work with, ask them for a contact. Like it's always just encouraging that, like, it's not leverage in a dirty way. It's actually leverage in a way of like, let's help each other all be awesome and do the things we are good at.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're talking about like that mutually beneficial trade, eh? Like, and it might not be at the time, but like it'll come back to you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So throwing myself into lots of situations, I was still working full time. I gradually got my hours down at my architecture job, because I was like, it's just too much. I love a social life, so I can't fit it all in as well. So I went down to 4 days work and had 1 day on my art, which was really cool. And then we moved to Christchurch just before lockdown happened. And I put my work on a page. It was like a local New Zealand Facebook page that was called New Zealand Made Products at the time. Now it's called Choice. And it was, and it was essentially like showcasing New Zealand businesses and small businesses in particular.
Which was major in that era of 2020 or like COVID, eh? Like there was a real push in that little era of like New Zealand businesses and small businesses. I feel like it's faded a little bit, but it was really front of mind at the time, eh?
I mean, it's like any disaster. Yes. So it's like, I think any disaster that happens, like even around the earthquakes, everyone pulls together because it brings this kind of camaraderie aspect. But yeah, so I put something up on that page, literally again, just one of those thoughts of like, why not? Like, shoot your shot, just chuck it out there. And then it got like 3,000 likes and 1,000 comments or something. And I had all these emails come in. I was like, oh my goodness. And I was booked out for, I think like almost 2 years. So 18, So it on the spot, it booked me out for 18 months to 2 years.
Was that kind of scary?
It felt awesome at the time, but it was not a great thing in the long run. Because it meant two things. Well, it meant a lot of things, but I was locked into the price that I had set for those artworks at that time, which I wasn't as experienced in pricing.
Yeah, you're creative, not necessarily commercial.
Yes, and we all learn from that. And so, so I was locked into the pricing. I also, because I had all of these artworks booked in for that amount of time, I always, for that 2 years, I felt like I was on this hamster wheel. I loved it still, like, don't get me wrong, it was amazing, it was awesome. I felt really blessed that I was actually able to be booked out that much. An artist. I was like, okay, I can actually do this. But yeah, I felt behind because life happens, right? Like you get sick, stuff happens, like things come up. And so I just, it didn't give me the control I wanted over my business. But again, I was still part-time at that point. But I had said to my husband about maybe a few weeks prior, if I ever get enough clients that hold me down for 6 months, I'll allow myself to quit my job. And then that happened and I was like, okay.
6 times 4.
Well, yeah, I was like, let's try and buy a house first and then I'll quit my job. And so that kind of happened in succession. And so then I quit and I was like, great, okay, here we go. And I started obviously out of space in my house and just worked from home for a couple of years. And it was amazing. I started bringing out prints as well and other things like that. And my socials was growing, which was really cool. But it was very much just commissions at that stage. So I wasn't really looking beyond what that would look like. And again, I don't even know, like I was very driven, yes, to keep this moving, but I wasn't sure of what it would like become. And it's very cool.
I just realised we haven't even really addressed your beautiful artwork behind you, but we probably need a little pause for a second because architecture and your artwork go hand in hand. Yeah. We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you don't need to be sorry, but we probably just need to explain to the audience, this is Ellie's artwork. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, go check it out. It's really cool.
Yeah. And so you were able to use your skill set and knowledge and that sort of thing from that space along with your art and kind of worlds combined, eh?
Pretty much. So it's essentially taking the architectural technique of cross-sectioning, which is when you like cut a building in half and you get to see all the floors and people moving in it and things like that.
Yeah.
So usually used in technical drawing.
Yeah.
But you'll also see it in fun ways, like Wes Anderson uses it in his films. He'll cut through a boat and you'll get to see like panning through different scenes and different really cool stuff like that. So that's kind of what I think of when I do mine, is like it's technically a cross-section of a world that you get to like get an insight into how things move in and out, and how people interact with each other, and different activities happening, and there's movement. It's really influenced by a lot of medieval stuff. So I have lots of like cogs and wheels and chains and
like steampunky.
Yeah, steampunky.
Yeah,
so it's kind of architectural, steampunky, but it's also a little bit of a fantasy world. It's always someone's story though. So that's the real foundation and weight of it, is it's just like it brings that, and that brings the joy through the kind of technicality of it, I think, because it's always about someone's life.
So how did you come up with that concept? Like I hear what you're saying in terms of that's literally, you know, the cross section and that sort of thing, but how did you make that your mahi? Like how did you come up with that concept of it being someone's life story, and like how did that happen?
Well,
is that just your artist? Like is that just it just happened?
A bit of that, but I think it was influenced by, I did a present for my dad for his birthday, and it was this, in a amateur sense, where I started. And so I did a present for Dad, and it was all about his life. And I think it was just, I don't know, it kind of just flowed out of me a little bit. And he was like, this is amazing. And so then obviously got to share it. And then I thought my best friend asked for one. And so I did one about her. And so it organically happened, although the style itself took a long time to tease out of university stuff. So long time for the style, but then the story time kind of just organically happened.
I love that. And that's how like true artistic people work, like it's like starts off and it's a little bit rough around the edges, and like at the moment it's actually the best that you can do or whatever, and obviously like you fine tune it along the way. But like I was the same, I started my clothing brand, I was literally just sewing up stuff for myself, exactly. And like if anyone looked too closely, like I'm actually, my mum and my sister are like great, so I was the same with my nana and my auntie, whereas I'm like, I kind of just like smash it out, but I love I just want to wear it, you know, and I love designing it, but yeah, like don't look too close, you know?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, but I've always like, in a way it molds with my personality, like even in my friendships, like I'm always like asking heaps of questions. I love finding out more about people, and I hate small talk, like getting to the deep stuff. Like let's just get there straight away.
Let's unpack all your trauma.
Let's go straight there, and if we're not, we'll just move on.
We're not vibing. I'm the same. I'm actually no good. Like, or like if I do some small talk, I think people think I'm kind of interviewing them, so that's what a lot of my career has been. But I'm the same. I'm all deep or not, and I can tell pretty quickly if we're going to vibe or not.
I agree. And it's even interesting now with clients, because I can tell the people that maybe don't allow people to go deep with them as much because of the things that they tell me, versus the people that are like, here's my whole life story. I'm like, whoa, that is a lot of information. Which it's so wonderful, but it is a lot sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so there was the hotel one.
Yeah.
So any other kind of like cool projects, or what happened after that?
Yeah, I mean, again, it kind of, when I started to go full time, it gave me the time I needed, of course, to like just work on my business. So that was the thing, is when I was part-time, I knew I couldn't grow it because I just didn't have any extra time to grow the business. So I was like, it either stays where it is or I give it all I've got. And so at the time I did ask my boss, I was like, hey, if this doesn't work out, can I come back in 6 months? And he was like, yep, that's fine. And here we are, many years later, so that was all fine. But I did some other mural projects, which was really cool. I did a corporate gift project for Trade Me, which was really exciting. So it was celebrating one of their big milestones. And then I also did Ballantynes and Dark Hampton, who's their tourism company. They do every year an advent calendar, which is like a digital advent calendar, which is a really fun, engaging thing. They get local artists to work on that. And that was another really amazing project, to have my art animated. We had like the cogs moving and things flying around and stuff. Cool. So that was really cool. Plenty of cool projects, like recently, quite a lot of murals, which seems to be a thing people really love, of having their business and their history and their values told
Totally.
through that way. And I think art's a really beautiful thing where it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, we all can understand it in a way. And I think that's what I love, as well as someone's story. If you see it on an infographic, it's like, oh, okay, that's okay. But actually, if you have it in a way that people can follow a journey and really get pulled into it, they actually understand your business better too.
Yeah.
So there's a commercial element of it that's really effective, but also a really beautiful thing that people are like, this is super cool. I love getting in front of it, and things like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can we just talk for a little second? Like, you've had some like really cool projects, and I think for our audience, from the outside perspective, it can kind of look like boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah.
But like, often there's like a big gap between like the cool kind of sexy projects.
Oh, yeah.
And so like, from the outside perspective, it can look like, oh yeah, but actually it's like, yay.
Yep, no, that's so bang on. And like I've been doing this now almost 9 years, and I would say for the first 4 or 5, like I was literally paid $10 an hour. Now that's my own fault. But that was, where we started, and even the commissions in the beginning, it'd be one every 2 months, 2-3 months,
I hear you.
And so, definitely started out very, very small. And even in the times before I kind of did that COVID post when that happened, it was maybe two every month. Like, it wasn't like a steady enough thing for me to be like, this is something I could do. So, and even now, in between those quote unquote sexy projects, I'm sitting here trying to get more sexy projects. Because at the moment I'm working on commissions, which I love, but I don't actually have anything lined up. I've got some exciting meetings lined up, which is cool.
Yeah.
But, often as well, when you're a creative entrepreneur, you are constantly putting yourself out there, but you're also in this waiting space.
Yeah,
because you have no idea of what's coming next. And so that's why it's really important to have like your bread and butter, like the thing that keeps you going and it's going to be always really good for your business, which is my commissions for me.
Yeah.
But the other things that I love, like murals and working with businesses and marketing, I love marketing stuff. So all of that is frosting, and I want to be a big part of my business, but.
Do you know, I've just made a total mirror of this, because I should have said it when I first introduced you. So Ellie and I met through Breast Cancer Cure.
Yes.
Which is super cool, and I liked you straight away. So that's really nice. But that was again like a cool thing. So Sonny just we were talking about different people that we could get involved and stuff, and I don't even know how she saw your work in the first place, but she was like, I need you to contact this girl and that kind of thing. And Sonny was one of those people for me, just for listeners. Sonia, she is the CEO of Breast Cancer Cure. So they raise funds for breast cancer research via doing a range of different events, but mainly fashion shows with like New Zealand's top designers, and they travel around New Zealand. I do backstage. So you were brought into the mixed, actually, for like a raffle. Was it for a raffle?
Yeah,
or
I
donated
some artwork,
which is super sweet, because I think almost that's like Sonia is a pro. Like when I grow up, I want to be like Sonia.
Yeah,
like she's cool, and she was a little bit of a nod for me. Like I worked backstage in those breast cancer shows, and then she was like, why don't we have your products on the models? So that was like a little moment for me, or a little bit of a golden glimmer. But you did some work you had like a meeting with them as well.
And so potential work ongoing there. And that's the thing, is there's so many. I think as well, I'm a true believer, like if you align with things that are aligned with your values and how your purpose and how you want to live your life, which is for me like doing what I can in the charity spaces that I really align with. That doesn't mean I can do like every single one. But you also you can also give back, but also never know where that's going to lead in the future.
100%.
And a really good example of that is I recently did a huge project with the Wellington City Mission, and I love what the Wellington City Mission do. I think they're absolutely incredible. And about 4 years ago, I'd messaged them and said, hey, I'd love to donate some time for a mural for you, not knowing anything about what they had going on. And they were like, look, we're building this building. That would be awesome. Great, let's lock you in. And then the building got put off and off and off. And so 4 years later or however long it was. And I thought the project was kind of dead. And then they contacted me and was like, we'd love to have you come in and do it. But the project's expanded and it's bigger. Do you want to come in? And obviously then I'm sitting there going, oh, my prices have gone up quite a lot as well. And my time is limited, but I still really wanted to. So met with them and we did a huge project. I donated a huge part of my time, but I also got paid for some of it as well.
Yeah.
And what's gone on from that is there's some really big figures that have seen that project that I know are wanting work in the near future.
Yeah.
And I both felt like this is like amazing to be a part of. It lights me up. I feel my creativity was stretched. It was just like all the elements of the perfect cocktail of things.
I 100% hear what you're saying with that one as well. I remember in the early days of my career, I was kind of known for doing people's like CVs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I, again, never been like that commercial. So people would hit me up to do their CV. I would spend hours on it and never got anyone to pay or anything like that. And I started to get a little bit resentful where I was like so passionate about helping them and, that sort of thing. But it was never mutually beneficial. Like I was like, hey, man, I'm starting this business and like, where are those people? That kind of thing. But really interesting as I've got older and probably matured a little bit. Like I didn't feel like they owed me, but it was kind of like when you're in the trenches of starting something new, you want as much support and that kind of thing and people to back you as possible. But yeah, totally agree. Actually, when you do stuff just out of the kindness of your heart and you don't expect anything back, right? You're like, actually, this is what aligns with my values and that sort of thing. And if it comes back to me, then like, awesome, but I'm not stressed about it. Yeah. That's when all the beautiful things happen in life.
Absolutely. And I think there is also a little part that can work in with that, which I actually like. A lot of artists ask me a lot of questions and, with working with people who are charities and things like that, I'm like, yeah, absolutely choose charities you want to work with, donate to schools, communities, but also at the same time, think of how this can be a really good business move for you. Not in the fact of like, I'm doing something kind, this is really great, in a way of like, how can I use the video footage, the photos, the testimonials? So there's a double edge there of like, I think as well, when you're in a business, you do have to think about that as well because you're trying to make a living, So I think those two can coincide of like doing things out of the kindness of your heart and at the same time helping inform your business. And also I think when you get like testimonials from those people and photos from those places, you also fuel those types of clients to come back as well. So it just feeds this beautiful ecosystem of your, I don't know, value set, I guess.
Goodness. Okay, so that's what you've kind of, you're looking for some CC projects, which is a great like shout out. Hey, like if anyone's listening, and because we can put this on LinkedIn too, which is a good like spot for it. Yeah. But so you have your prints, which is kind of like a kind of consistent little thing there that can tick over and you don't have to necessarily create something new, right? Yeah. And then you have your commissions, but you also have this other part. Yeah. So let's talk about that. What are you up to?
It's really exciting. Over the last 6 months, I guess, I created a course for artists and creatives to help them be better at business, essentially giving them the full map that I have walked, stumbled through myself, to get them to quit their job, if that's what they want. It's like something that I've always had a heart for. I love like encouraging other artists and like helping them tangibly equip them, like give them actual physical stuff they can take away and use. And I always had heaps of people in my DMs and emails. And so I was like, surely I could do something with this. And so I invested some money in a business coach myself, which was invaluable. And then that pushed me and I created and launched a course within 12 weeks, which was nuts. It was the most work I've done since uni. It was like so intense.
Yeah, you're like, what's this typing?
It was just like up really late. I was like, how did I do this once upon a time? Anyway, but got it done and had an intake of people. It was really, really awesome. And so, I teach artists how to do business.
What's your course called?
Passion to Profession.
Yeah, okay,
yes,
cool.
I should have said that.
targeted towards artists or creatives, eh?
Yeah, anyone in the creative field, so like even photographers, graphic designers, fashion designers, anyone that was really like a freelancer. Yeah. It's really applicable, but I tend to attract artists, probably just because I am one.
Yeah, you've walked that path so they can see that. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And what have you been like the lessons from that? Because doing a course is quite different from the other mahi that you've done, eh? So what have been like some of the biggest lessons and wins out of that?
Yeah, I mean, steepest learning curve, I think.
Yeah.
Like, just not only like in teaching other people and them trusting you, like, completely is like, it's quite intense when someone's like coming to you and like asking you for all this advice. But also a really beautiful thing. And also then the tech side of it and actually learning how to sell a course. Potentially the selling of the course was the hardest, I would say, because it felt jarring with how I usually like to sell. Yeah. And I'm still learning a little bit in that area of how I can do that a bit more aligned with maybe my art. Yeah. But we're all learning. But the thing I think that I just loved the most was seeing at the end, it's a 6-week course, so I launch a module every week, and each week we have a live session where we like jump on a call with everyone else in the group, and we sit down and we ask all these questions and we learn together. And I'm also available to them 24/7, like on my phone. So we'll be sending voice notes and video notes and like all of those kind of things. They'll send me pictures, I'll check them over and give them feedback. So it's very hands-on for me, which is actually really great. I love kind of getting into the specifics, and that's a really cool thing about the course. It's really specific to each person. The big high is seeing people like sell out their launches or like see themselves make money they didn't think they could, or like one of my students the last couple of weeks did her first huge mural, like the biggest mural she's ever done.
I actually know who you're talking about.
You do?
Taylor.
Yeah.
That's so cool,
yeah,
Ellie.
Taylor Made, shout out. She's amazing. And one of my other students had a sellout launch that happened last month, and that was after me challenging some of the ways that she was doing things and saying, hey, maybe we need to change up this, which took a lot of trust as well, right? These people
I got goosebumps.
Yeah, oh, that's so cool. And but I think the thing that's really scary is they're changing up the way they've done things for so long, and then when it actually works, like, oh, this is amazing. But it takes a lot of work. Everyone in the course, I'm like a proud mother hen because they put in so much work for themselves. And I think that the potential hard thing about the course for me as a teacher is like, it's not like they're going to step out of the course and make $1 million and I can be like, yay, my job is done. It's not like that. It's like, I am giving you everything that I use and have used to give you a foundation and an ongoing like path to use to be successful. Yeah. And so it's very much like I'm not raising children, I've never raised a child, but raising kind of your young career in this space and giving them everything they need, like templates and how to talk to different people and connections.
I love that. I love what you're
really
doing
exciting.
there. And it's really cool that I actually know one of your students that I've seen it myself that it's working.
That's so cool.
Do you think it's sustainable in terms of like how much you give? Like, you're saying like I'm available and all of that sort of thing. Like with say, because I'm a giver, right? So I just, I can kind of relate from that space. But do you think that what you're charging is enough for how much you're giving?
At the moment, yes. I think it took me a while to land on the price of the course because it's not a cheap course. Yeah. But it's filled with literally everything I myself have paid for in information and learned over, 9 years of work. So, and I really believe in the value of it. Because it works for me as well. So I think it's about right at the moment. Yeah. Some of the people in the course that have finished, they finish and they're like, we miss it so much. And it's like so awesome. Yeah. I think they miss being in this community where everyone's got the same questions, everyone's in similar stages, and also the encouragement of just people being like, you can actually do that. Like, go do that thing. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess I will. We'll try this thing. Yeah. And so I'm doing in the future one-on-one ongoing sessions with people that want to and they can pay for that when we get to that. But for now, I limit the course to 10 people because I really want that intimate group. Again, I'm not in it to be making $1 million. Yeah. It is now that the course is made, because that first intake was hectic because obviously I put in so much time. So it definitely made a loss
Yeah,
in terms of time, money.
Good honesty.
Oh, definitely. And even the second time round, probably maybe broke even just in terms of my time. And then this next time it'll be even better. And the next time after that it'll be even better. And I'm constantly adapting things and adding things because that's just who we are. But
nice.
yeah.
I love that. And thank you for being really honest, because it's so easy, again, for outsider perspectives to be like, oh, they see how much your course is, right? And they're like, oh, well, times it by 10 and she's away or whatever. But I appreciate you just being honest about that, because I think that people maybe start a new business, they might have a bit of a flop to start with and that sort of thing and give up really quickly, where it's like, nah, like you might have some wins, you're gonna have some losses, get back up, girl, and like just keep on grinding every time.
Feel free to like ask me about all my losses and that's okay, but it's about just pulling yourself back up. And and it's so cheesy, but it's just believing that you can do it. And
you kind of have to be a low-key delusional, eh?
Really,
like you can't when we're adults and we have businesses or whatever, we no longer get participation certificates. And there's not really like, you kind of have to be low-key delusional with that hope and belief that at some point it's all going to be worth it. But also really identify those golden glimmers in the moment and celebrate them, mate, without being like, okay, what's the next? Like, enjoy that moment, because it might be a little bit of a drought before the next.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing, is like a lot of artists and creatives, like they have got such amazing work, like their work is stunning, and this is why I created the courses, because they're not able to make a living off of it, and it's because of these missing elements that I think that the people that treat their art like a business are able to kind of maybe make it a bit more sustainable. Actually, yes, absolutely make it more sustainable. But I'm hoping in the future it becomes something that, yes, is a bit more of a passive thing for me. Like, that would be great to have that. Because with my art, I am glued to my hand. Like, however much time I can spend is how much I can make, So I was trying to diversify the business in a way to get that.
Three-prong kind of approach.
Yeah, definitely. So, but I just love talking about art and business, so...
Well, the light is on, which means that I think that we have come to our hour, which is flowing by. And this has been such a cool conversation and so relatable, and I've loved it. And I really love the fact that you're not only doing your work, you're giving back to other people, and not necessarily in a charitable way or whatever, but you genuinely want to help people, and like you've paved that path yourself, and like probably, to be fair, you needed an Ellie in your life that's like, here you go, queen. Like,
probably all my friends and family, but yes.
You know what I mean? Like, but I think it's really awesome that you're so invested in other artists, and you're not like, there's that whole climbing the ladder, and then some people push that ladder down to not let people climb up with them, but you're like not just giving them the ladder, you've also got like the safety rope and kind of being like, I'll help you up. So
there's space for us all, and that's the thing, is we start to compare ourselves really easily, but there's enough jobs to go around. That's for sure.
So super cool. If anyone wants to check out Ellie's work, which you totally should, then on all of the socials, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been amazing.
Yeah. So to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to our podcast. We'll be back soon with another episode.